Here's a compelling expansion of key point one. Patience is a test of love and faith, written in the powerful motivational style of Denzel Washington. Patience is not just waiting, it's not standing still hoping something changes. Patience is faith in motion. It's the ability to trust the process even when the process makes no sense. It's believing that what you desire, what you pray for, what you fight for will come, but only in its due time. Too often we confuse patience with passivity. We think patience means doing nothing, but patience is work. It's emotional discipline. It's mental endurance. It's knowing that just because something isn't happening on your timeline doesn't mean it's not happening at all. And this is where most people lose themselves. They want love, but they want it now. They want change, but they want it fast. They want transformation, but they don't want to sit through the process that builds it. We live in a world that glorifies speed, but God operates in seasons. And if you're not careful, you will walk away from something or someone simply because you didn't want to wait long enough to see them become what they were meant to be. Maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you've been patient and it feels like you're waiting for nothing. Maybe you've given everything you have to a relationship, a dream, a vision of what could be, and all you're getting in return is silence. And silence can feel like rejection. Silence can feel like abandonment. But silence is also where God does his best work. Think about it. The most profound transformations don't happen in noise. They happen in the quiet. A seed grows beneath the soil before it ever breaks through the surface. A diamond is formed in darkness before it ever shines. A person finds their strength not in the moments of applause, but in the moments when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one believes. That's patience, that's faith. It's trusting what you cannot see. But let's get personal. Maybe you're thinking about walking away from someone right now. Maybe he's not where you want him to be. Maybe he's still figuring things out. Maybe he's growing, but it's not happening fast enough for you. And listen, there's a difference between waiting on someone who refuses to change and standing beside someone who is trying. That's a choice only you can make. But ask yourself this, are you leaving because he's stagnant, or are you leaving because you don't want to endure the waiting? Because growth takes time, maturity takes time, healing takes time. And if he's showing you effort, if he's taking steps, even if they're small, then maybe what's required of you right now is patience. I get it. It's hard to wait for something that feels uncertain. It's painful to invest in someone when you don't know the outcome. But let me tell you something. Nothing great is built overnight. Not a man, not a relationship, not a life. And sometimes what feels like delay is just divine preparation. Now, let me be clear. Patience does not mean tolerating disrespect. It does not mean waiting forever for someone who refuses to grow. It does not mean losing yourself in the process of waiting for someone else to find themselves. No, patience has limits. Patience has boundaries. Patience is for those who are working, not for those who are wasting your time. But if he's growing, if he's learning, if he's actively trying to be better, then maybe patience is your greatest test right now. Because love, real love, is not proven in the easy moments. It's proven in the waiting, in the endurance, in the willingness to stand beside someone as they become the person they were meant to be. You see, people regret leaving too soon more than they regret staying a little longer. Because when you leave too soon, you never get to see what could have been. You never get to witness the breakthrough. You never get to see the full picture. And if you walk away prematurely, you might spend years wondering, what if? So I'll leave you with this. Patience is a test of love and faith. It's the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to be. It's the space between frustration and fulfillment. It's what separates those who build something real from those who give up too soon. But the question is, do you have the strength to wait? Do you have the wisdom to know when patience is required and when it's time to walk away? Because sometimes the only thing standing between you and what you want most is the patience to let it happen in its own time. And if you can master that, if you can trust the process instead of rushing it, if you can endure the waiting without losing your faith, then you will not just love, you will love deeply. You will not just succeed, you will succeed meaningfully. And you will not just live, you will live with purpose. Because patience is not just about time, it's about trust. And if you trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should, then you will never again be tempted to give up right before your breakthrough. Here's a compelling expansion of key point 2, growth requires discomfort, written in the powerful motivational style of Denzel Washington. Discomfort is not your enemy. In fact, it might be the very thing leading you toward your greatest breakthrough. Growth, real, lasting growth, never happens in comfort. It happens in struggle. It happens in uncertainty. It happens when everything in you wants to quit, but something deeper tells you to hold on. That's the problem with most people today. They want change, but they don't want discomfort. They want transformation, but they don't want the struggle that comes with it. But you can't have one without the other. You can't build strength without resistance. You can't gain wisdom without experience. And you can't grow into the person you were meant to be without walking through some fire. Maybe that's what's happening in your relationship right now. Maybe you're facing a challenge that's testing you in ways you never imagined. Maybe you feel like you're stuck in a season of frustration, confusion, or even pain. And the easy thing to do? The easy thing is to walk away. To assume that if it's difficult, it must not be right. To convince yourself that love should always be smooth, always be effortless, always be easy. But let me tell you something. Anything worth having comes with a cost. And that cost is think about it. Every great story, every great success, every great transformation has one thing in common: struggle. The man who builds a legacy doesn't do it without sacrifice. The woman who overcomes adversity doesn't do it without pain. And the relationship that stands the test of time doesn't do it without seasons of hardship. You see, pain has a purpose. It refines you. It reveals who you are. It shows you what you're made of. And sometimes it shows you what the other person is made of too. Because the truth is, love isn't just about how well you celebrate together. It's about how well you struggle together. So let me ask you, when things get hard, do you run or do you lean in? Because the relationships that last, the ones that stand the test of time, are built in the tough moments. They're built when you're forced to communicate instead of shutting down. They're built when you're challenged to grow instead of staying the same. They're built when you choose to fight for each other instead of walking away. Now, I'm not saying you should stay in something that's breaking you. I'm not saying you should endure pain that is toxic, unhealthy, or damaging. But what I am saying is this: don't confuse discomfort with dysfunction, because growth is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. Becoming the person you were meant to be is uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. Maybe he's not where you want him to be yet. Maybe he's struggling to step into his purpose, to lead, to love the way you need him to. And that's frustrating, I get it. But ask yourself, is he growing? Is he learning? Is he trying? Because if he is, then maybe what's required of you in this season isn't to walk away, but to stand beside him as he becomes the man he's meant to be, to drive him into danger and risk for your children. What a description, isn't it? What you've got in a man he's envious of. And the same goes for you. Because maybe, just maybe, this struggle isn't just about him. It's about you too. Maybe this season of discomfort is shaping you into the woman you were meant to become. Maybe it's teaching you patience, resilience, strength. Maybe it's preparing you for something greater than you ever imagined. Because here's the truth: if you quit every time it gets hard, you will never know what was waiting for you on the other side of the struggle. So don't run from discomfort. Don't resent the process. Don't let a difficult season convince you to give up on something that still has the potential to grow, because what feels like a struggle today might just be the foundation for something powerful tomorrow. You see, love isn't just about feelings. It's about commitment. It's about endurance. It's about choosing to grow, even when it hurts, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you don't see the full picture yet. Because real love isn't just about finding the right person. It's about becoming the right person. And you can't do that without some struggle. So, if you're in a season of discomfort, take a breath, take a step back, and ask yourself, is this breaking me or is it building me? Because if it's building you, if it's stretching you, if it's pushing you towards something greater, then maybe, just maybe, it's exactly where you're meant to be. And when you come out on the other side, when you look back at everything you endured, everything you overcame, everything you fought through, you'll realize something powerful. You didn't just survive the struggle, you grew because of it. You became stronger because of it. And the person you are now, the person who refused to give up, who chose growth over comfort, who learned to fight instead of flee, that person, that's who you were meant to be all along. Here's a powerful expansion of key point 3, the power of patience. Timing is everything, written in the motivational style of Denzel Washington. Everybody wants love, but nobody wants to wait for it. That's the world we live in. Instant gratification, fast results, quick fixes. But anything worth having, anything real, anything built to last, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes faith. You see, love isn't just about finding the right person. It's about finding them at the right time. And that's where most people get it wrong. They rush, they force things. They try to manipulate the process instead of trusting it. They mistake loneliness for love and desperation for destiny. But here's the truth. You can meet the right person at the wrong time and it still won't work. Because love is just as much about timing as it is about connection. Look at your life right now. Look at where you are, what you're learning, what you're going through. You might think you're ready, but are you? Really? Are you the person you need to be for the love you're praying for? Because love isn't just about what you want, it's about what you can handle. And God isn't going to give you something you're not ready to carry. Think about it. You wouldn't hand a 10-year-old the keys to a Ferrari, not because they don't want it, not because they don't believe they're ready, but because you know they haven't matured enough to handle the responsibility that comes with it. Love is the same way. You might want it, you might pray for it, you might feel like you're ready for it. But if you're still battling insecurity, if you're still carrying wounds from your past, if you still haven't learned how to love yourself, then maybe what's happening right now isn't rejection, but preparation. Maybe God isn't saying no. Maybe he's saying not yet. That's the difference between those who find lasting love and those who chase after temporary affection. The ones who truly understand love know that rushing into something before it's time can be just as dangerous as missing out on something that's meant for you. They know that patience isn't passive, it's powerful. It's an act of faith. It's a declaration that you trust the process, that you trust yourself, and most importantly, that you trust God's timing. And here's the thing, patience isn't just about waiting, it's about how you wait. Some people wait in frustration, in bitterness, in doubt. They spend their waiting season complaining, settling, forcing things that were never meant for them. But those who truly understand the power of patience use this time to grow. They use it to heal, to evolve, to become the kind of person who doesn't just want love, but knows how to sustain it when it comes. Maybe right now you're frustrated. Maybe you're questioning why things haven't worked out the way you planned. Maybe you're looking at your life and wondering why that relationship failed, why that person left, why you keep ending up alone. But let me tell you something. Just because it's not happening right now doesn't mean it's not happening at all. Think of a seed planted in the ground. You don't see it growing right away. You don't see it breaking through the soil the moment you plant it. But just because you don't see movement doesn't mean growth isn't happening. Deep beneath the surface, roots are forming, foundations are being built. And if you dig it up too soon, you destroy what could have been. Love is the same way. What's meant for you is being prepared for you just as much as you're being prepared for it. And when the time is right, when you've grown, when you've healed, when you're truly ready, it will come. And it won't feel forced. It won't feel rushed. Here's a powerful expansion of key point 4, walking away with grace, the strength of letting go, written in the motivational style of Denzel Washington. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away, not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect, out of wisdom, out of the understanding that holding on to something that no longer serves you will only slow you down from reaching what's meant for you. See, we live in a world that tells you to fight for everything, to prove your worth, to chase people who don't see your value. But let me tell you something. Real strength isn't in holding on. It's in knowing when to let go. It's in understanding that not everyone is meant to stay, and not every relationship is meant to last. Some people come into your life as a lesson. Some come as a test. And some come as a blessing. But no matter what role they play, your job isn't to force them to stay. It's to learn from their presence and, when the time comes, learn from their absence. Now, I know that's not easy. I know how hard it is to walk away from something you believed in, to let go of someone you invested in, to move forward when your heart is still looking back. But let me ask you this. How many times have you held on to something that was breaking you? How many times have you stayed in a place where you weren't growing just because you were afraid of starting over? See, that's the trick. The fear of loss will make you hold on to things that aren't meant for you. It'll make you think that walking away means failure, that letting go means giving up. But here's the truth. Letting go isn't losing, it's choosing. It's choosing yourself, choosing your peace, choosing to believe that what's ahead of you is greater than what you're leaving behind. And let's talk about regret. Because that's what holds most people back, right? The fear that if they walk away, they'll regret it. But let me flip that question. What if you stay and regret that? What if you spend years of your life trying to prove your worth to someone who never truly saw it? What if you waste your energy trying to fix something that's already broken beyond repair? You see, when you walk away with grace, you're not walking away in weakness. You're walking away in strength. You're saying, I know who I am, I know what I deserve, and I refuse to beg for love, for attention, for respect. That kind of decision shakes people. It leaves them speechless. Because the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop proving yourself to someone who took you for granted, they wake up. They realize what they lost. They realize that the presence they took for granted has now become an absence they can't ignore. But here's the thing. By the time they realize it, you'll be gone. You'll be too busy evolving, too busy stepping into your purpose, too busy building the life you were always meant to have. And that's where true power lies. Not in making someone regret losing you, but in making sure you never regret losing yourself. So if you're at that crossroads right now, if you're debating whether to hold on or walk away, ask yourself one question. Are you staying because you're growing, or are you staying because you're afraid to leave? If it's the latter, then you already have your answer. Let go. Walk away with your head held high. Trust that the space you create by leaving what's not meant for you will make room for what is. And when the day comes, and trust me, it will come, when they realize what they lost, when they look back and see the void your absence left, don't turn back, because your future is calling, and it's time to answer. Here's a powerful expansion of key point 5, the power of silence. Let absence speak louder than words, written in the motivational style of Denzel Washington. Silence is a force, a presence, a message. And when used correctly, it can be more powerful than any words you could ever say. See, most people think power comes from making noise, from arguing, from proving a point. But real strength, real power, it comes from restraint. It comes from knowing when to be quiet, from understanding that your energy is too valuable to be wasted on people who only listen to respond, not to understand. And when it comes to making someone feel your absence, silence is the loudest statement you can make. Because people expect a reaction. They expect an explanation. They expect you to reach out, to plead, to ask them why. But when you give them nothing, no anger, no begging, no attempts to make them understand, that's when they start to feel it. That's when they realize that your silence isn't empty. It's full of meaning, it's full of boundaries, it's full of self. Now, I'm not talking about playing games. I'm not talking about ignoring someone just to get a reaction. That's manipulation. I'm talking about the kind of silence that comes from a place of knowing your worth, the kind that says, I don't need to argue. I don't need to convince you of my value. My absence will do that for me. Because here's the truth. When you remove your presence from someone's life, it creates a void, a space where your laughter used to be, a space where your support, your kindness, your love once existed. And at first, they might not notice. They might be too caught up in their pride, too distracted by their own ego to realize what just happened. But give it time. Give it time, and that silence will start to speak. It'll start to echo. It'll start to weigh on them in ways they never expected. Because the thing about taking someone for granted is that you never really understand their value until they're no longer there to give it to you, until the good morning texts stop coming, until the phone calls don't happen anymore, until the person they thought would always be there simply isn't. And that's when regret sets in. That's when they start replaying moments in their mind, wondering if they missed something. That's when they start questioning their choices, wondering if they should have appreciated you more. See, silence is powerful because it forces reflection. And reflection leads to realization. But here's the key. You don't wait for them to realize it. You don't sit by the phone hoping they wake up one day and understand what they lost. No, you keep moving. You keep growing. You let your silence do its work while you focus on becoming the best version of yourself. And if they come back, if they reach out, then you have a decision to make. Not from a place of desperation, not from a place of wanting closure, but from a place of wisdom. A place where you ask yourself, do they miss me, or do they just miss what I did for them? Do they regret losing me, or do they just regret no longer having access to me? Because there's a difference. And when you understand that difference, you realize that silence isn't just about making someone regret losing you. It's about making sure you never regret losing yourself. So if you're in that place right now where someone has taken you for granted, where you're questioning your worth, where you feel the need to explain, to argue, to prove, don't. Instead, take a step back. Let silence do what words cannot. Let absence teach the lesson that presence never could. Because one day they'll hear that silence loud and clear. And when they do, you'll be too far ahead to turn back. Here's a powerful expansion of key point 6. Success is the best response. Level up and let karma speak. Written in the motivational style of Denzel Washington. There's a moment in life when you realize that the best revenge, the most powerful response, the most undeniable comeback is success. Not words, not arguments, not proving a point. Just leveling up in silence and letting your growth, your achievements, and your transformation speak for themselves. See, people expect a reaction when they hurt you, when they betray you, when they leave you behind thinking you'll never rise without them. They expect to see you broken, struggling, stuck in the same place they left you. That's how the human ego works. It wants to believe that its absence is your downfall, that somehow their decision to walk away, to underestimate you, to take you for granted, would be enough to keep you from rising. But that's where they're wrong. Because what they don't see, what they could never predict, is that you're different. You don't stay down. You don't beg for validation. You don't need closure to move forward. Instead, you take that pain, that disappointment, that feeling of being overlooked, and you use it as fuel. You use it as a reason to focus, to work harder, to step into the version of yourself that they never believed you could become. And that's when everything shifts. Because one day they're going to look up and see you thriving. They're going to see you walking in confidence, building something for yourself, living a life that is full without them. And that's going to sting. Not because you intended for it to, not because you wanted revenge, but because the truth has a way of humbling people. The truth that they were wrong about you, the truth that you didn't need them, the truth that their absence didn't destroy you, it elevated you. But here's the real power in this. Success isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about realizing that your worth, your potential, your greatness was never tied to anyone else's belief in you. It was inside you all along. It was just waiting for the right moment, the right pain, the right motivation to come alive. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't about arrogance. It's not about flashing your success to make someone feel small. It's about recognizing that the best way to respond to betrayal, to disrespect, to heartbreak is not through bitterness. It's about reaching a place where their opinions no longer define you, where their doubts no longer hold weight, where their absence is no longer felt. Because you've built a life so rich, so full, that there's no space left for regret. And here's the thing, when you level up, the universe responds. The opportunities start coming, the right people start appearing, the doors that once seemed locked, shut begin to open. Not because you chased validation, but because you walked in your purpose. Because you understood that your destiny was never in someone else's hands. So if you're sitting there, wondering if you should explain yourself, if you should send one last message, if you should try to make them see what they lost, don't. Let your success be the message. Let your growth be the response. Let karma do what karma does. Because when you focus on you, when you commit to becoming the best version of yourself, you won't have to say a word. The results will speak louder than any explanation ever could. And by the time they realize it, you'll be too far ahead to turn back.